Alrighty, guys. So, welcome to another awesome Friday with Pasadena Humane. If you've joined us before, you know this program is about bringing you careers and the different things you guys can do. If you enjoy animals, you want to make a better world for them, or just plain and simple, want to work with them every day. Today, we are actually talking about Catios. And with us today is the amazing Alan. How you doing today, Alan?
I'm great, thank you.
Glad
Thumbs
to
up.
hear
Can you hear
it.
me?
So there you are.
Okay. Uh-oh, I think you're,
Um, so I understand you do. Ooh, let's see, there, my back.
you're back. Yeah, you were frozen for a little
Perfect.
bit.
Oh, sorry about that, guys. But yeah, so kind of on my train of thought. So I understand you do something that's kind of catching fire right now. What exactly is it that you do?
So I started a company called Custom Catios and about 4 years ago, and we build cat enclosures. So basically, we build structures outdoors that are usually attached to a house that allows pet cats to go in and out, but to go experience the outdoors, so they get fresh air and sunshine. And get to see the birds and the squirrels and the bugs and take in all the smells and hear all the sounds and do all that great stuff to get their stimulation and whatnot, but do it in a protected environment. So they're in basically like a fancy cage. So they're always safe. They're not exposed to cars. They're not going to get run over. They're
Mm.
not going to, come into contact with coyotes or other predators. They're not going to, have potential to get diseases and talk and run, eat poison or run into bad human beings who want to torture them or any of that kind of stuff. So it keeps them safe. And so the just to continue on this, like an indoor cat on average lives about 17 years, but an outdoor roaming cat, a cat that gets let outside, lives on average less than 5 years. So it's very dangerous for cats out there. So we're trying to protect them against that. And then the other thing is that when you have indoor only cats, they often develop behavioral issues because they want to go outside and they're not getting the necessary stimulation. So that's why I launched this company in 2017 to build these custom catios that these cats can go out and basically get the stimulation they need, but do it in a protected environment.
And that's amazing. And since you started, has there, at least do you feel, been a large demand for this? Are people like throwing money at you trying to get catios?
Well, I don't know if people are throwing money at it, and I'm certainly not getting rich. But the demand has just taken off. I mean, the more and more people are becoming aware. I mean, at this point, I feel like most cat people now are aware of catios and stuff. And times have changed. When I was growing up, not when you were growing up, but people just let their cats outside, and that was the norm. And so with a lot of education and changing times as well, because like when I was growing up, there weren't quite as many like coyotes as there are now, like everywhere.
Yeah.
So with changing times, people in education, people have learned about the dangers, and they don't want to take that risk. Most people feel like their cats are their family, and they don't want to take the risk of their family member not coming back. So the demand is skyrocketing. It really is. And now even with the pandemic, people are spending more time at home, spending more time with their pets. And so, and maybe they're not spending quite as much money on travel or what other things they used to. So now even more people are more interested than they were even prior to getting Catios.
Yeah, definitely. Like I can honestly say that's even been a question in the shelter when people come to adopt cats about like how do we feel about catios and how do people get started with things like that, which is really great. So I'm wondering, is there like a basic model of catio you do, or is it all dependent on the house itself?
Yeah, so everything we do is custom. So it's going to be totally dependent on the house or the apartment or the condo,
Mhm.
and the desires of the and the budget. I say the desires and the budget of the client. But there's basically three types of catios out there. There's DIY, do it yourself,
Mhm.
and you could go Google DIY catios, and the ASPCA has a good page on DIY catios. There's this woman in Seattle, Catio Spaces is her website. She sells like little pamphlets on how to do DIY. So that's kind of like the lower end, option, the less
Mhm.
expensive. And then in the middle is like prefabricated, like kind of like fancy cages that you can buy on the internet and they'll ship them to you. And they have different type models and things like that. And that's kind of like the middle price run. And then custom, is going to be the higher, more expensive thing, but you are going to get something that's custom to your house and your property and designed specifically for with your cats in mind.
Okay. So now that we know kind of like what financially goes into it and what started you, I was wondering, how did you learn to make catios? Was this something you're like, hey, I can do that? Or was there someone that showed you how to do this?
Uh, Not really. I built my first one about 15 years ago. I was living in a high-rise building in Westwood off Wilshire Boulevard, and my cats
Okay.
weren't getting along, and so that's when I built. And someone built it for me. Actually, I didn't build it, but they just built like a cage, like with a couple shelves on. And then when I moved to this house that I'm in now, about 7 years ago, I uh, I hired someone to build a fancy one. He was just a contractor though. And I kind of like guided him through it. I knew what I wanted because I had already had the previous one. I kind of knew more. But that's like the baseline, and then I've done a ton of reading on the internet and cat books and whatnot. But basically have taught myself, everything there is to know about Catios. But when I first started, I really didn't know that much. I was kind of winging it for sure.
And how did you get most of your knowledge on starting to build and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't actually do the building. I hire people to do the
Okay.
building. So like I have guys who work for me, like construction workers. These are like real construction projects. So I design it, and then I have like a right hand man who's like a foreman who kind of runs the crew and make sure all that is going well. But it's been a trial and error and like learning from, we've done 150 of these now. And I have learned from like, there's other Catio builders. And so I've learned from them. And, I have dialogues with Catio builders all across the country and the world, frankly. And so I definitely have learned from them. And I've learned from like Jackson Galaxy, like watching him like on his TV shows. He's amazing and he has so much knowledge. I actually worked with him on one of his shows. And so I learned directly from him. And then, yeah, you just try to be a sponge and take in as much, we're still like, even though like, I think we're probably one of the premier Catio companies in the world, I'm still stealing things from people, like, oh my God, I love that idea.
Mhm.
Let's incorporate that, or I sent a note to a Catio builder in Georgia yesterday because I saw him do something. I'm like, hey, I want to get some information from him about it, and so we're always trying to improve and get better and stuff. And so you watch what other people are doing too.
That's amazing. And I feel like that is such a great way to just get started into anything, start in the community, start working out there, and then just keep all these contacts, right? Just keep learning off of each other and keep doing things like that. Um, so if someone was interested in,
I just want to your point. I just want to say absolutely, you were so right. And an example of that is, I think relationships are. It's like not only are they key to life because if you want to be happy in life, it's all about who your friends and your family are and having those relationships for sure. But then when it comes to business, it's all about. It continues to be mostly about relationships. So I would encourage anyone who's on this call to always develop their relationships. And I'll give you the example. When I started. I told all my friends, this is what I want to do, right? And they knew. And so one of my friends is a veterinarian, and she's the one who got my first client. She was, one of her clients is like, I want a Catio. And she's like, well, I got the guy for you. Okay. And then another one of my friends, she's like, oh, I got this handyman I think would be really good for you. And so he's the guy who built the first one,
okay.
and so like, both of those came from different friends and because they knew what I wanted to do. And so I agree with you. It's so much, relationships are so key. And that's, helped me get started.
Definitely. And I feel like even if people don't necessarily know, like, hey, what direction am I going in life? Just keep those options open, right? Just kind of keep grinding at it.
For sure. For sure.
So if somebody wanted to get started with catios, what direction would you point them in if they wanted to learn how to build or even design them?
Yeah, I mean, I would go, there's so now at this point, there's a lot more information about Catio. So like you can go to my website and my blog has, I post something every month. So it's got a ton of information, uh, including, I have Q&As, like question and answers with like 13 of the best Catio builders across, the country and actually in Canada and England as well, and in Australia. So that's a good place to go learn from all the other ones as well. You can read all those Q&As. And then you could go to all their websites and look at their Facebook pages or their Instagrams and see, because everyone does them a little bit differently, right? And everyone has what they think are their best practices. And there's no right or wrong way, but it's kind of like everyone has their own style and stuff. And a lot of times the style is reflected of like where you live, right? So like if you live in a place like it snows all the time, you got to build a different type of Catio than, say in sunny Los Angeles. So there's so much information out there. I would just start, going through the internet and just, reaching out to people as we talked about the relationships. You could, it's so easy to especially in the Catio world, you could reach out to anyone and they're going to talk to you, I mean, I reached out to every Catio person there is, and I talked to all of them. So now granted, I'm a Catio builder, but everyone loves to talk about Catios if you're in the business. So it's,
Okay.
yeah.
So that's just kind of like they go to like, hey, Catios. And people are like, yes, Catios.
It's a passion because like I said, like, I mean, for most people, they're not getting super rich doing it, so it's more of a love, a passion. So people who are passionate about what they do love to talk about it. And, and every Catio builder is also trying to be an educator at the same time, because with the education comes more business. We're not only trying to, part of the sales process is having people learn about what Catios are and what's the benefit of them, right? So we're always doing education too. So I think it comes with the territory that we're always trying to spread the word and get more people involved. And,
Definitely. So, whoa, just lost my train of thought. Anyway, sorry. Sometimes that happens. Yeah, okay. So I also understand that this is kind of a career change for you, right? What were you doing beforehand?
It is. I mean, I started the company 4 years ago. So I was like 46 or 47 years old. So I'm a late career change person. And, I think it's a good lesson in that, you can, at any age, you can ultimately change your career, And so I've had a lot of careers. I mean, I've done a lot of different things, from being like a high school teacher to, I went to law and business school, and then I did hedge funds and investment banking and all kinds of, crazy stuff. So I've done a lot of different things. I've worked for politicians. I've worked on political campaigns. So, I just encourage people to really try a lot of things, especially when you're young. There is advantage to finding the place that you like, the industry you like, because you can more as you stay in the same industry. You can get those relationships we're talking about, but you start meeting more and more people. And if you switch industries, all of a sudden you have very few relationships, right? And then you also have less knowledge. You have to start over and those things. So that's the trade-off, but you should never be afraid, if you're not happy, to try something else.
Definitely. So I'm also wondering, with your change, what did you find was the hardest part about getting started?
I think the hardest part was taking the leap,
Okay.
And it's just, it's human nature to be afraid, right? Of something new. We're conditioned to, always fearing what's around the next corner. It could be a lion. And so we're like, our brains are always telling us caution, 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 And so that is a huge barrier to actually doing the thing you want to do, usually or often, at least for me. So I think, finally just getting the nerve to say, like, what's the worst thing that could happen? I could fail or whatever. Like that's not so terrible, right? And so finally just getting the nerve to do it. That was the hardest thing for sure. And then, there's definitely at the beginning, not everything goes right. And, you just have to kind of, roll with it and figure it out. And, and when you start out, you're not doing everything, by the letter of the law and things like that. And so slowly you start to, get in line and start getting everything in order and stuff like that. So it's a process for sure. But I think the hardest part um, was making the leap for sure.
Okay, so you actually mentioned something a little interesting. The letter of the law. Are there legalities that go in with building catios?
I mean, there's legal stuff with everything for sure. So, I mean, like on a daily basis, I have to have contracts with all my clients and stuff like that. So I had to see a lawyer, write a contract, and then I have to change the contract for every client depending on what it is. So I do a little bit of legal stuff like all the time, even though, you don't have to be a practicing attorney to do that or anything. But yeah, there's rules and regulations, and they're different in every town and things like that. And so, Catios actually fall in a fairly gray area just because, I'm sorry, Piper. Sorry, my dog is trying to get out. And so, most people don't know what the Catios are so new that if you go to your local office in the city, your planning office, you'd be like, I want to build a Catio. They'd be like, what? So, that's a difficulty that people have to deal with. But, they do fall into a lot of different areas that allow them. Is it like a shed, a 10 by 10 structure? Are people going into it or not? Is it attached to the house? All these different things factor into whether or not, you have to get it permitted or things like that.
Okay, and how far do you usually travel to build these catios, or are you just in California?
I mean, we're definitely just in California, but we've done one as far as San Diego. We've done a couple in Santa Barbara. So we'll travel pretty far, but the further we go, it does get a little bit more expensive just because I have to put my team up in like an Airbnb for the duration of the build if it's really far. So that does cost extra. But we'll go anywhere people will have us.
I mean, that sounds like a great way to travel. Like you can make some money and you can have like a little day to explore a town. So that sounds good to me.
Yeah. I mean, we don't get a lot of time off when we're out there, but we do like it. It is fun to get away and see new places for sure.
Okay. And what are some of the most interesting catios you've designed?
Oh my God. We've done a bunch. We've done one that was like around an orange tree, so
Oh,
like up in the orange tree. We've done a bunch that have like long bridges and skyways that attach to the house or go between. We did one that was, we call it the Catio compound, but it had this huge long run that went by this pool through this garden, and it was like raised up high, and it was amazing. We did the Catio Castle, which was just ginormous, this huge structure. The Catio compound, the jungle Catio. This was like in Pacific Palisades, but it looks like a jungle inside there, palm trees and all kinds of vegetation and stuff like that. And it was huge. I mean, we have 2 massive palm trees in this thing. That one was amazing. We're always like I said, we're always trying to come up with new stuff. We just did one for the kitten lady who's in San Diego.
oh, okay.
She's pretty well known cat celebrity. And that was a lot of fun because she comes into it with a lot of knowledge, and so that was cool. And she kind of knew what she wanted, so that was a fun one. She filmed it actually. You can watch the video online. And yeah, so I mean, there's just so many, but you can go to the website or go to my Facebook or Instagram pages. You can see all of them.
Awesome. I mean, that actually sounds really cool being able to create like a little cat jungle and they're safe and they're entertained. And that's just great because that is a really huge problem with cats, them being under enriched and destructive behaviors in the home.
Exactly. And it's, I mean, I think I have like the best job in the world, honestly. And it's like the joy of watching people watch their feline family members go outside for the first time and just like, be so happy. The joy of the cats and the joy of the humans. And it's like, I get to witness all that and deliver that, that's like my job. And so it's a beautiful thing. And, I feel very lucky, very blessed.
You should. In my head, I'm just picturing that scene in The Lion King when they finally raise up Simba for the first time
Right.
and everybody's celebrating. That's just
Totally.
um so with kind of everything that's going on, how do you guys manage having this business with COVID? Has that caused an issue with your small business?
Yeah, at first it did, like right when COVID hit, like in I think it was like March of last year. And I think people were just scared. They didn't know what was going on, right? And so there was like a 2 to 3 week period maybe where things just kind of stopped.
Okay.
And we couldn't really do anything. There was no guidance. And then people, I think the stock market kind of went down and people were freaking out, and so some people backed out. And but then after that, when things kind of mellowing out by April-ish, and then the guidelines were that construction workers could continue to work outside, and so we could, and we did. And we're outside the entire time, and wearing masks and stuff, so it was like very little potential for COVID. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the business has been actually fairly good. We're really lucky, and because people are now spending so much more time at home and with their animals, and so people want to invest more in them. And you see people adopting more animals. Some of the shelters were cleared out, which was a beautiful thing. And it's so that part has been a good part of COVID. I don't want to say COVID's been good by any stretch, but like, getting all those animals adopted is really amazing.
Yeah, definitely. Our shelter was actually one of those that saw record lows in our population for the time of year. And we're just starting to get back into it. So yeah, as scary as COVID was, it did have a couple of positives with it. So we are grateful for that.
Exactly.
Um, so I'm also wondering about clients. Do your clients ever throw kind of like things out of left field at you when it comes to designing things, kind of like your jungles or your castles?
Oh, for sure. And there's always like that, the client may want something, or there's something, as part of the house that we have to figure out. There's some kind of like, how do we get the cats from here, point A to point B over here, but there's all this other stuff going on. So it can be a little bit of a puzzle sometimes. But honestly, that's like the stuff that we love and my team loves. They want to be challenged and we want to do new things. And so it just makes it more fun. And so, yeah, we get that all the time. We just did we did a catification, which was like an indoor thing,
Okay.
and we did like this was an old client who did a Catio, and then they wanted to do this. They wanted to deck out their bedroom and do all this really, really fun stuff. And so we did like a glass bottom bridge, and you can see like overhead, you can see the cats walking above you because it's like on the glass, it's super cool. So yeah, again, like that's like, give us, you can tell us anything. We're gonna be like, yes, we'll do that. That's the more fun.
And do your clients usually have bigger spaces, or do you also work with homes that are on the smaller side?
No, we every big, small, rich, poor, complicated. We really want to, work with everybody as much as possible. And yeah, some people have smaller houses, some people have larger houses, some people with larger houses want small catios, some people with smaller houses want,
Huge
vice
catios.
versa. So exactly. So you never know. Again, like, it's great when people come to it though with their own ideas, and I want to get creative. That's always a plus. We love that.
Definitely. And I feel like that's also a really great way to like experience new things, especially with different people. Like they might have that one idea where you're like, oh, that would be amazing. So yeah, okay.
Totally. And again, like talking about being the best job in the world, like any job where you get to meet new people all the time, and like really cool people, like I don't know what it is, but like people who love their cats are generally good people. I just come across good people, and it just makes it that I get to go across the city and meet these people from all different walks of life. I get to learn about all, what they do, and, all their lives. And it's fascinating to me. And so I just, that these people invite me into their houses, and then, I get to meet their cats, obviously, but, and tell me about, their lives, and learning about that. I mean, I've met just amazing people, not to mention like a whole bunch of celebrities and things like that, but like, which is always fun, but like everyone is just everyone's interesting in their own right. And so it makes it more enjoyable for sure.
Definitely. And I mean, how bad can it be, right? You get to meet a different cat every single time. I'm sure they're awesome. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a highlight. Some cats, I'm actually pretty good with cats, and cats generally like me. But there are some cats who, they're going to be under the bed or the couch and stuff like that. So that's always a bummer when they don't want to come out and say hi. But that's part
That's
of the
always
job, I
fun.
guess.
Sure. Real quick, guys, if any of you have questions for Alan, we are going to be opening up the Q&A. So go ahead and start dropping those in the chat box and we'll get to them as we have time. But you mentioned celebrities. I do want to know, who's the most interesting celebrity you've met doing this?
I don't want to say most interesting. I don't know. I mean, the last celebrity I guess we did was I don't think I pronounced her name right, but Jenny Aiko. She's like a R&B
Oh,
singer. She was nominated for like 3 Grammys this year.
mhm.
And I mean, she was great, and I love the one that we built for her. We do this thing called like Cat Disneyland, where we try to make it as fun and stimulating as possible, and we put all our extras in there. And she basically, her Catio was pretty amazing, and she was great to work with too. So she was a lot of fun. There's so many, over the years already, but that's the last one that I can think of.
No, that's a good name. Like she's really popular right now. So
Yeah,
that's
for
a really
sure.
cool one.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, someone wants to know what are the most popular features in Catios?
Sure. I mean, probably the most popular is we do these 10-foot climbing poles. They used to be sisal rope poles, and we'll still do that sometimes, but if it's out of the rain. But now we've kind of switched over to synthetic rope poles. But
Okay.
they can be as high as 10 feet tall.
Mhm.
And watching cats climb up a 10-foot pole is just, it's pure joy. It really is. And so that's probably the most popular. We have a new thing lately that
Mhm.
we just started doing fairly recently called a peekaboo bubble bed or salad bowl bed. And it's basically like a clear bowl
Oh,
that
okay.
cats can sit in and stuff. And then like if we put them up high, like in view of your window or whatever,
Mhm.
you can see the cats sitting in the bowl because it's clear. So it's like cats who like sinks and things like that really like it. So that's a fun one too. We have hiding boxes with cat cutouts, so they're pretty cool. Those are pretty popular as well. Cats want to be outside, but still stay a little hidden. Um,
I
so
want a Catio now. Okay.
they're fun. I mean, we really try to make them fun and stimulating for the cats. So, yeah.
So, on average, what is the length of time it takes you guys to build a Catio?
So it can be as short as 2 days and as long as, though we've done a couple, I should say, we've probably done one or a few of them in one day, but those are super rare. So most of them, the shortest is probably about 2 days. The longest, we've done a few that are over a month. They took over a month, 30 plus days. But most, I'd say the average is like 4 to 5 days, really. That's probably the
Okay.
average. Yeah.
Is there any special education that goes into learning to be a Catio designer?
I mean, I basically taught myself, and so no, you just need to. I do it on I have an iPad, and I have a iPad pencil, and so I take pictures of the location,
Mhm.
and then I do like a sketch, like a stick figure 3-dimensional sketch. So I just taught myself how to like do a 3-dimensional
Okay.
sketch, and that's it, and then my team basically can follow my instructions, my sketch, and do it. And I take measurements and stuff too, so it's all measured out. But no, there's not like it's not like rocket science. I mean, you do have to know how to do construction. People have to know how to do construction, to ultimately to do it. So
Definitely.
yeah.
I mean, I feel like that helps. If you have the basics down of how to build things, it definitely kind of helps you further along.
Oh yeah, I mean, ours are like real construction projects, so you have to have people who are really know how
Know
to
how to do their stuff.
like the guys on my team have like built houses and things like that, like so it's yeah.
Well, yeah, because you have to make sure your structure is sound. It's gonna stay up to wear and tear and things like that. So it definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, this is an interesting one. Have you ever made an enclosure for feral cats or someone who takes care of a colony?
We did. We did one of those, I would say, probably. It's difficult because you have to make, like, he had about 10 or 12 cats, I think.
Oh,
And it was a huge structure. And even then I still felt like it wasn't big enough. So the question is like, if a cat's going to live in this for the rest of their lives and not have access to the house, You know, I think I read somewhere once that it should be like 17 or 18 square feet per cat per structure. So it starts to get, you need pretty big
Sizable.
area. And then the question is like, do people want to spend all that money, you know, for these ferals that are going to be outside, you know, and so it gets harder financially, you know, to do it. So it's not something like, I always prefer it when cats have access to at least one room. It could be a garage, it could be
Okay.
one bedroom, it could be a bathroom, you know, but as long as they have somewhere to go in the house, they can get out of the sun or you know, if it's, you know, freezing cold or whatever, they can go in there. But then also have the enclosure. It's always the better route. But we have done it. We have done it.
Okay. Oh, someone would like to know if there is catio options for an apartment.
Yeah, we've done a few we've done a handful for apartments and condos, but it can be difficult to get approval, you know. So whether you're dealing with building management or an owner or an HOA, you know, homeowners association, they can get in the way, and they're not always so nice about letting you do catios. Sometimes it's better to go with like a more prefabricated option where you get sent that cage and you can stick the cage on your balcony. And then it's not like attached to anything, so it's easily removable. You know, sometimes those can be better solutions for apartments, but we have done apartments. Like we'll do them if they can get approval.
Okay. For apartments, would it be more of a catification, adding the ramps and the walkways and things like that?
No, usually like for the apartment, you have to build like at least a wall, like, you know, where the balcony is, and so hopefully if it's like a building that has, you know, something above you, below you, so you just have to enclose that whole area.
Okay.
You know, you have to make sure there's an emergency exit door just in case, you know, there's a fire, things like that. And then we'll add afterwards like the shelves and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, someone would like to know what kind of fencing do you guys use to keep the cats from escaping?
So we use primarily, I can show you. We use wire mesh. So this is like our 1 inch by 1 inch wire mesh, 2 inch by 2 inch wire mesh. We use a silver 2 inch by 2 inch wire mesh. These are the main ones. These are the three main ones we use. But it's all like industrial grade strength wire mesh. You know, no predators can get through this. You know, so you know, the number one concern is keeping the cats safe. So we you know, we want to use super strong mesh.
You actually triggered a question for me. So the goal is definitely to keep them safe. I'm wondering, are your catios sunk into the ground a little bit to keep animals from digging under?
So if it's built on concrete, you know, we just build it on concrete. But if it's built on grass or dirt, we bury mesh around the perimeter, and we do it like this in an L shape, so that if a coyote comes over here, he's going to hit this, and so he's going to have to dig further out. And then if they eventually hit this if they go underneath it, and then at that point they'll just give up. They'll be like, there's mesh here, you know. And so we do that around the perimeter when it's on grass or dirt.
Okay. Very good for it. Yeah, because I was hoping like we don't want someone to sneak in under you.
No, for sure, no. No, we've had someone who on Instagram just posted it where the jungle one I talked about.
Mhm.
That one, they have outdoor cameras, and they have like bobcats and all kinds of animals just going through the area right by the catio. So you can see the catio and all these, you know, but they're safe because they're in the catio.
They're enclosed.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. How long did it take for your business to take off the ground?
That's a good question. And I think it's hard to like pinpoint, you know, it's kind of been like a very slow and steady kind of rise. But there, like the first 2 years, there were times when, you know, we didn't have jobs. And so there would be days off and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But like right now, we have like a 3-month backlog. So basically, if you signed a contract today, you wouldn't get your catio built for 3 months. So it totally shows you the difference. And so, you know, I think that started probably about 2 years ago, where we finally we went the whole year without any days off, any like breaks, you know, like in the schedule. Usually, like it used to be the first couple of years over December and January, it slowed down. But now it doesn't do that anymore. So, or it slows down, but we still have jobs the whole time. So yeah, I'd say probably about the 2-year mark was where it finally like hit a point where it was very consistent and sustainable.
Okay. Someone is bringing up the Catio features that you did for Kitten Lady. What did that look like, or what design elements went into it?
So we did kind of like even though, I mean, hers was a decent sized Catio, but we basically put in almost everything. A couple of features, we had like so hers was like on one side of her house, but we wanted to have them turn the corner. So we did a nest up high so they could go and turn the corner around the house, which was pretty cool. She also had a climbing pole and the salad bowl bed. She also had a hiding box. I mean, she had a lot of stuff going on in there. It was a pretty fun, good sized Catio too. So she had most of the features we offer actually.
Ooh. Sorry, it looked like my internet went a little wonky.
No.
I'm back. Yeah, so for those of you that are interested in getting more of a visual on that, we have linked the video to the Kitten Ladies Catio. So go ahead and check that out on YouTube. Oh, somebody wants to know, where does your inspiration come from the builds? Is it just the layout, or what goes into it?
Yeah, it's a combination of things. So one is certainly like the layout, like where where the Catio is going in the house. And so like the house will usually give me some idea, like we're going to do it within these parameters. And then I have to work around this or something like that, these obstacles. So that's like the first thing. Then the next thing is like what the client wants in it. So like within the space we have, how can I get these elements in there to fit in there, and at this point, like, I mean, I've done it so many times. I usually can figure out a way to get like certain things that they want in and stuff like that. And then like, the last thing is like, if I see something that I feel like could be cool, like it could be an extra element or something like that, I'll try to throw that in too, again, like always trying to add little pizzazz, make it a little creative, things like
Get
that.
the old razzle dazzle.
Little razzle dazzle. Exactly.
So on social media, you're known as the Catio guy. So how did that get started for you?
I just in the beginning, I just try to think of a bunch of names. I was trying to think if I should be Catio guy or like my company is Custom Catios, and I don't know now. So now I have two different names. The company is Custom Catios, but all the social media is Catio guy. So I don't know. I guess I look at it like Catio guy is more like me personality wise and stuff like that, whereas Custom Catios is more the company. And, if you want to get a Catio built, but yeah, I don't know. It kind of had a nice flow to it, I think, and so I just adopted it, and I like it.
Yeah, I just ran with it. You are the Catio guy.
It's fun. I like.
Oh, someone wants to know, what is the most extreme feature you've ever put into a Catio?
Most extreme feature. Wow. I mean, we've done some pretty crazy like skyways, I think, in runs, that are attached certain components, or probably all, it's probably the one I was telling you about by the pool, this like run that goes zigs in and out of this garden by the pool. That was pretty extreme. Oh, we did, it was cool. And so this was cool. We did this huge Catio outside. It was beautiful with like a Spanish tile roof and all this stuff. And then this was like a mansion house. And then they wanted to do an atrium, catify an atrium. So we had the Catio like over here, but the atrium over here. And then we connected the two on the roof. So the cats could go through the atrium and then up onto the roof and then like weave their way around the roof to the main Catio or go the other direction too. So it basically was this long connection between the Catio and the atrium that they could, they could hang out on the roof too. But
that is a lot.
It was pretty cool.
Let's see. Oh, okay. So there's a question about, how do your Catios stand up to the elements? Is there anything specific you have to do to temper them, or how does that work?
Yeah. So everything we use is made for the outdoors, right? And so we use redwood, which is like one of the most durable woods. So that's how we frame it. I showed you the mesh, and this is all like, this one is dipped in zinc, so it becomes galvanized, which makes it, weatherproof. These all have coating on it, and they're galvanized underneath it, so they're weatherproof. And then, our roof structure, the roof we normally use is made for the outdoors. If we put carpeting, we use outdoor industrial strength carpeting, so it'll dry really fast and is made for getting wet and outdoors. So yeah, every element that we use is, we're thinking about it, being exposed. Now, luckily, in LA, the elements aren't terrible, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it rains occasionally, and it can get, probably the hardest one is the wood, is because it can get 100, like in the valley, if it gets 110, 115 degrees, that can be pretty rough on the wood. So that's why we use the redwood, because originally some of the lumber we used would warp a little bit, like our doors and things like that. So we switched away from like regular Douglas fir, but everything we're doing is, we prime and paint the wood and things like that to make them last longer too. And so it's all, thought to last. I mean, my Catio has been here for 7+ years and it looks like it's brand new.
Oh, that stands the test of time. Alrighty. Okay, so do you like cat wheels? Is that a thing you would add into a Catio?
Yeah, I definitely encourage people to make the Catios their own, give it personality and put stuff in there. If there's room for a wheel, I would absolutely put a wheel out there. But you should name your Catio. You should have a sign on it. Whatever. I have a friend down the street. His Mona's Catio because it's Mona. But like whatever it is you want to, you should name your Catio, I think. And then, you should put not pillows, but beds and other things like that in there, and other design elements, lights if you want, the more the better, try to make it, it's a beautiful, joyful place. And so you should, once we leave, you should just be getting started, I think. So I encourage people to really deck them out and make them their own.
Kind of like
So
moving.
like a wheel, I think is a great idea, for sure.
Oh, someone wants to know, can dogs use your Catios?
Sure, and we do dog runs as well, and we do combination dog runs and Catios. And so a dog run combination is basically just a Catio, because the cats go up and do all the shelves and go vertical and stuff like that, and the dogs stay on the ground. So the only thing you have to think about is the size of the dogs and how big. You might have to make the Catio bigger if it's a bigger dog. They need more area to kind of run or go to the bathroom type of thing. But other than that, it's just an enclosure for the dog. So we do that oftentimes. There's a couple of things you have to consider. So like if dogs and cats are sharing, you want to make sure that the litter box is up high. You want to make sure it's on the ground, because you don't want the dogs eating the litter. So that's just like an example of something you'd consider if you had a combined dog cat structure.
Okay. So you mentioned that you also make solo dog runs. How did that get started for you?
The dog runs?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just ultimately the clients desiring it, and it's kind of like the same issue, especially with small dogs, that if you have to worry about coyotes and whatnot, and so especially if I mean, coyotes are everywhere, so you shouldn't let a small dog out unsupervised for sure. But yeah, I mean, we're happy to we want to protect all animals, right? So. We're definitely happy to do dog runs too. I'd say about, maybe 10% of our clients are dog runs.
Oh, okay. So that's actually a pretty decent chunk.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So last question for Alan. Someone wants to know what advice you can give them if they wanted to get started.
Yeah. I mean, learn as much as you can, first of all. So, go on the internet and read and get books and read. And then, kind of like, I mean, it's the same advice I give to anyone trying to get into any industry or field. You want to start meeting people like we talked about at the beginning, right? So, try to get informational interviews. You can reach out to me or you, or Pasadena Humane Society or whoever, and say, hey, could you sit down with me for 15 minutes or grab a coffee with me, and, again, just don't be afraid of rejection. If you ask 5 people, I bet you 1 or 2 will say yes, and people love to talk about what they do and stuff, as I mentioned earlier. So, you can certainly learn a lot from that, go on these informational meetings. There's nothing other than, you're not going to get a job out of it or anything like that, but you're going to learn. And then when you're at that meeting, you should ask that person, who else should I be speaking to? And hopefully they'll give you 1 or 2 other people. And then you just keep continuing to do that, and you develop these relationships and you learn, and you just keep doing it until you figure out where your spot is going to be, what you want to do. And I think that applies to everything, not just, Catios or animals or anything like that. But, just read, learn, and then do. Eventually, you got to do. You got to try. So
That was
don't
so
be. I guess
inspirational.
again, I guess
Love it.
the theme of this is don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid of rejection. Don't be afraid to take the leap and do it. So
Yeah, because at the end of the day, the worst thing that's going to happen is you just have to give it another shot. So by all means,
exactly,
just try again.
exactly.
Alrighty, Alan. Thank you so much for being
Thank
on with
you. I
us
really appreciate
and
it.
teaching us about Catios. For all of you guys that are interested in careers, this is actually the last one for this season.
Thanks for
We
coming.
will be starting back up October 8th with 4 new careers. So you're more than welcome to check us out at Pasadena Humane, and you can sign up for this as always on Eventbrite. Everybody, I hope you enjoy your weekend, and especially you, Alan. Thank you
Thank
guys.
you. You too.